Hello, everyone. Good morning. This is Sharan from Ruckus. I know exactly what you're thinking. Yet another Ruckus presentation. Yep, that's true. So my topic, before I go to the next slide, so my topic is consumer products in the enterprise network. And the lessons that I learned supporting the Sonos with the Ruckus access points. Though these lessons are also applicable for most wireless access points, and also other consumer-grade devices, right? It's not just Sonos. So let's start here, right? So this became very trending in Twitter yesterday. So this game is open for everyone except those who attended the antenna deep dive, because you guys are done with your drinking. So let's talk about Sonos. So hopefully you guys know what Sonos is. If you're not, just start with a very brief introduction on what Sonos is. So Sonos is a premium wireless multi-room speaker system. You can connect up to 32 of those in a single system, right? They can be in different rooms. You can connect them together. They connect through wireless. They also have an option for wired, but wireless is also an option, which is what majority of the customers use. You can group different speakers in different rooms so that they can play music in sync. You can create a surround system. So if you have a home theater system, 3.1 or 5.1, you can also use that to create a surround system. You can control the Sonos systems with an app. So for iPhone and Android users, you can control them. And also you can control using voice, right? There is also a Bluetooth option for some of those devices. So all of these, majority of these, create different challenges. How many of you use Sonos at home? And how many of you have multiple VLANs and enterprise access points where you support Sonos along with it? Right? So you guys know the pain of supporting it. How many of you have Sonos at work? Very few. Starting to pop up. Okay, so it started with, so I have some large partners and customers where they use the Ruckus access points. They love the product in home. Either they use Ruckus access points or any kind of the enterprise access point at home, and then it went to the restaurants and bars. And I'm also seeing in dorm rooms, education, classrooms, because people love this product at home, so they think it will just work at their work as well. But as you guys know, it creates a lot of challenges. So in addition to all the mess that it creates, you also get a cheaper version of it through the IKEA, right? So you can even buy a photo frame that can support the same Sonos system. So this slide shows all the different integration that it does. Specifically, when you look at the different type of audio streaming service, if you have multiple VLANs, this is going to create different challenges. And then you have these different home integration partners. Some of these create different challenges, right? One, all the lesson that you're going to see right now in this session, it's also going to be applicable for some of the system. If you're not aware of Crestron, Lutron, and Control4, the same challenges what you're going to see now, it's going to be applicable for them as well. So the best option, of course, the Sonos is not going to roam around. So the best option, as Wi-Fi professionals, we know that just plug them in, right? But the important lesson learned, Sonos uses a technology called Sonos Net, which is a proprietary peer-to-peer mesh technology, super outdated technology. They use spanning tree protocol in the backend to make it work, and it uses an AES encryption. So even though you wired everything, together, they use a Sonos Net, a mesh network in the backend to connect the speakers together just as a backup mechanism, and that's how the speakers are in sync together. What it does, in addition to wired, you also have a wireless backhaul mechanism. It creates a loop and a broadcast strom. So unfortunately, they don't support RSTP. They do the spanning tree protocol, right? So you need to make sure it's compatible with it. So backward compatible, fortunately, RSTP is backward compatible, but you just think about this, consider this like an old router that supports spanning tree protocol that doesn't support rapid spanning tree. So first option, as best practice, disable the wireless interface. Right? There's an option in the app to disable it. Next, the recommendation is either have everything as wired, if not have just one of those as wired. You don't want to have multiple wireless and multiple wired. You don't want to mix them together because it just Sonos Net creates a lot of problem. The last option is connect everything to Wi-Fi, which might be most practical in a lot of the cases. So the first option, as I said, leave just one as wired and everything else as the wireless. Some of these, I'm going to go a little bit faster because I don't have a lot of time, but these are the general networking best practices for supporting spanning tree, right? So one, you're not going to expect a consumer-grade device to support spanning tree or a wireless device to support spanning tree. So lower the spanning tree priority to make the core switch as the root, right? So these are the best practices. No BPD guard on the switch port because you would not expect a speaker to send BPDU packets, but this is going to do that. So it's going to leave your port in a disabled state. No root guard, no admin edge port on the switch port. And it also it doesn't follow the standards as expected. It uses a spanning tree pathcast of 10. So with all this stuff, just make sure you guys follow. There is a Sonos recommendation page where they say these are all the recommended best practices. Just make sure you don't want Sonos, when you connect a Sonos speaker, you don't want that to become the root of your spanning tree topology, right? So make sure you guys follow that. And there is an option to change a channel. The Sonos Net channel, particularly only if you have one of those as wired, they give you an option to change the channel. The wireless option, the home theater setup proxies through one of the speakers, which I had no idea, right? So when I connected 4 or 5 of those through the setup, particularly if I have a home theater setup, so my dashboard showed only one of those as a client because, interestingly, they proxy everything through that big speaker, right? So it uses my Sonos Arc, and everything else is proxied through it. So the best practice is if you have to connect everything through wireless, which is what I do at my home today, make sure the multicast and broadcast is not blocked or filtered, right? This is an important thing because they use multicast and broadcast for discovering all these devices and as well as for streaming. So if you, I looked at all the different TAC cases that customers have opened with Ruckus related to Sonos. 90% of that is because of this particular thing, which is the directed multicast. So Ruckus and hopefully other manufacturers have the same mechanism where to convert multicast to unicast to give higher data rate and reduce the airtime utilization. So there is a feature called directed multicast, right? So that's the default behavior. What it does is it's not going to allow, or it's going to convert multicast to unicast, which is going to break your system. So maybe the first speaker will work. When you try to add your surround speakers, it's not going to work. So disable it. And similar comparison, anything that proxies, anything that converts multicast to unicast, like directed DHCP, proxy ARP, or ARP filtering, disable all this stuff, right? So it's designed for same VLAN and subnet. So it's designed for home. And now we are taking it into an enterprise network. So it's definitely a security nightmare. Put them on separate VLANs and SSID as a best practice, right? But that creates a completely different challenge. Thanks, Brian, for talking about all this MDNS and the nightmare of supporting all these chatty protocols. The speaker discovery and app control requires SSDP, which is not secure, which uses UPnP, and MDNS. Both of them have a TTL of 1. Fortunately, this was not documented anywhere. Earlier, it only supported SSDP. The MDNS was not allowed as part of the discovery mechanism. Now you can do you can also use MDNS for doing inter-VLAN discovery. So I'm kind of running out of time. I'll borrow 2 or 3 minutes more. The multi-VLAN discovery and streaming requires Bonjo gateway. You don't need to have multicast routing because routing cannot do TTL of 1. But Bonjour gateway. Hopefully all your enterprise manufacturers allow Bonjour gateway. These are the Bonjour gateway rules to pass multi-VLAN discovery. So in this setup, just know that they don't support enterprise options like this. They do support WPA2, WPA3 SAE. All speakers support 11B and G. The small speakers support 5 gig. It was designed for the standalone. The soundbar support the 11E and 2.4. You may have to dumb down the enterprise features, right? Unfortunately, that's the case. So that's the reason. Create a new SSID. Tone it down. Don't use all the enterprise features, but make sure that's that particular it's going to be an isolated VLAN. So here is the list of firewall ports. You don't have to open up every one. If you find any of these are not working, you may have to open up, right? So here is the kind of interesting. I found some not well documented browser-based tool options. It's also creates a security nightmare because anyone who's connected to the same SSID can open this. There is no authentication. You can use some of these troubleshooting tools. So here is one more. It shows you all the different IP addresses. It also shows the different channels. It shows that the operating channel. It shows the home channel, which is the one which used the Sonos Net channel for connecting all the speakers together. And there is also some noise floor. The RSSI, there is an option to show that. It shows the network matrix. So if you have a big network with a bunch of Sonos devices, 25 to 30 devices or something, it shows you everything, and you know where the signal is weak, and also shows you the spanning trees forwarding or blocking state. So this is the last slide. So just understand that there is this Sonos Net, which is the mesh network, and follow the STP best practices. As we all know, if you can wire them, please wire them. If not, at least connect just one of them to the wire. Don't connect hybrid option. Enable multicast. Use Bonjour gateway. Segment them in a separate VLAN, separate SSID, and understand the wireless capabilities and security options. Thank you. Sorry, I took a little bit more time.